Stop scrolling, close your eyes for just a moment and ask yourself this: what if the message you are waiting for is already yours? You don't need to chase, force, or overthink anymore. The connection you desire does begin with them, it begins within you. In the next few minutes, you are going to shift into a state where communication feels natural, effortless, and inevitable, not by controlling anyone, but by becoming the version of yourself who already has what they desire. You do not wait for it to happen, and you certainly do not sit in hope, wondering if it will come. Hope implies distance. Waiting implies absence. And I tell you, what you desire is not absent, it is already complete within you. Your task is not to bring it into being, but to recognize that it already is. So what do? You assume. You dare to accept in this very moment that it is done. Not tomorrow, not later today, not after some sign appears. Now, you accept that the message has already been received. You see it in your mind as clearly as you can. You feel the quiet satisfaction of it, the naturalness of it, the ease of it. There is no excitement born of surprise, no shock, only a calm knowing, as though it were the most ordinary thing in the world. For what is an assumption? It is not mere words you repeat. It is not a surface thought that passes through the mind and is quickly forgotten. An assumption is something you occupy. You step into it. You wear it as you would a garment, and for that moment you become it. So if you assume that you have already received the message, then you must be the one who has received it. Not trying to receive it, not hoping to receive it, but the one who already has. And how would that version of you feel? Would you be checking your phone again and again? Would you be questioning whether they will reach out? Of course not. That version of you is at ease. There is a quiet confidence, a settled feeling that needs no confirmation. You are no longer looking outward for proof, because the proof has already been accepted within. You must understand this: the outer world does not create, it reflects. It mirrors back to you the state you are dwelling in. So if you remain in the state of waiting, you will continue to experience waiting. If you remain in the state of hoping, you will continue to experience uncertainty. But the moment you truly shift into the state of having, the outer world must, in its own way and time, conform to that inner conviction. So do not concern yourself with the means. Do not ask how it will happen, or when it will appear, or what they will say. Those questions belong to the one who does not yet have it. You are not that person. You have moved beyond that. You have accepted the end. And I say to you, acceptance is the key. Not force, not struggle, not repetition without feeling, but acceptance. A quiet inner decision that this is already yours. You do not argue for it. You do not beg for it. You simply know it. Remain there, if only for a few moments, but remain fully. Let the feeling settle into you. Let it become familiar, natural, effortless. And if the mind tries to pull you back into doubt, gently return to your assumption, not with effort, but with ease, as one returns to a place they know well. For you are not becoming the one who receives, you already are. And as you rest in that knowing, you will discover something very important. It is not the words you repeat that bring this into being, but the feeling you accept as true. Words by themselves are empty. They pass through the mind with little effect unless they are clothed in feeling. It is feeling that gives life to the assumption. It is feeling that impresses the inner self. So when you say to yourself that it is done, do not say it as a statement you are trying to convince yourself of. Say it as one who feels the reality of it. Let the feeling rise within you gently, naturally. You do not force it. You do not strain to create it. You allow it as you would allow a memory to come back to you. Think of how you feel when you receive a message you've been expecting. There is a certain ease, a quiet satisfaction, perhaps even a soft smile that forms without effort. It is not overwhelming. It is not dramatic. It is simple, natural, almost ordinary. That is the feeling you must capture, not excitement born of longing, but contentment born of fulfillment. So you see it. You see your phone. You see their name appear. You feel the moment as though it is happening now. And as you feel it, Something within you shifts. You are no longer reaching for it. You are experiencing it. You are no longer outside of it. You are within it. This is what it means to feel it real. You do not stand apart, observing the scene as though it belongs to someone else. You enter into it. You become the one who is living it. You feel the weight of the phone in your hand, the light from the screen, the quiet recognition as their name appears. And in that moment, there is no doubt, no questioning, no wondering if it will happen. It has happened. And I tell you, this feeling, this inner experience is far more powerful than any outer action you could take. For the outer world follows the inner state. It has no choice but to reflect what you consistently feel to be true. But you must be careful here. Do not try to force the feeling, for force implies that it is not yet yours. You do not struggle to feel something that already belongs to you. Instead, you relax into it. You allow it to come gently, easily, as though you are remembering rather than creating. If at first it feels faint, do not be discouraged. Return to it again softly. Each time you visit the feeling, it becomes more natural, more familiar, more real. And as it becomes natural, it begins to take root within you. You will notice a change. The urgency begins to fade. The need to check, to wonder, to doubt it begins to dissolve. In its place comes a quiet confidence, a calm assurance that does not seek validation. And this is how you know you are dwelling in the right state. For when you truly feel it real, you no longer ask when it will happen. You no longer look for signs. You no longer question whether it is possible. The feeling itself is enough. It satisfies you completely. And it is from this place, from this deep inner satisfaction, that the outer world begins to move. Not because you forced it, not because you chased it, but because you accepted it within yourself as already true. And as that satisfaction begins to settle within you, you must now understand something deeper still. You are no longer standing in the middle of desire. You are not in the waiting, not in the reaching, not in the hoping. You have moved beyond all of that. You are now living from the end. What does it mean to live from the end? It means you are no longer reacting to absence. You are no longer shaped by what has not yet appeared. Instead, you are anchored in the assumption that the desire is already fulfilled. You are not moving toward it. You are moving from it as one who already possesses it. So I ask you now, in this stillness of mind, who are you being? Are you the one checking, wondering, questioning? Or are you the one who has already received? Because in this state, there is no searching, there is no uncertainty, there is only completion. You are not waiting for a message to change your state. You are the one whose state already includes the message. And from that state, everything feels different. The breath becomes slower. The mind becomes quieter. The body relaxes into a sense of it is already done. And I tell you, this is where transformation truly begins, not in the outer world, but in the inner identification. You must see yourself as the one who already received it, not as something that may happen, but as something that has already been integrated into your reality. So how do you feel now? Feel it honestly within yourself. There is a relaxation that begins to appear when you stop resisting reality. There is a security that comes when you are no longer questioning your place in it. There is a certainty that arises when you no longer argue with what you have already accepted inwardly. And that is the state you must remain in. Do not slip back into the version of yourself that waits. That version belongs to the past. You are not her anymore. You are not him anymore. You are the one who already experienced the receiving. You are the one who already saw the name appear, already felt the moment unfold, already lived the reality within. And if the mind tries to pull you out, if it tries to say, but where is it? Or when will it come? You simply return to the end. You return to the feeling of fulfillment. Not as effort, but as remembrance. For you are not trying to create something new. You are choosing to remain faithful to what is already assumed. And in that faithfulness, the outer world begins to adjust itself. Not instantly in time, but inevitably in reflection. So remain there. Stay in that version of yourself who does not wait, Stay in the calm awareness of fulfillment. Stay in the quiet knowing that nothing is missing. Because in the end, nothing truly is. And when you remain in that end, something within you naturally begins to shift again. Because you begin to notice how different it feels when there is no longer any sense of reaching. And this is where you must become very aware of yourself. For the moment you slip back into needing, you step out of the state you are meant to dwell in. Neediness is simply the evidence that you still believe it is not yours. It is the subtle whisper of separation, the feeling that something is missing and must be obtained. But I tell you, anything that feels like lack can never be the state of fulfillment. The two cannot coexist. So you must be honest with yourself. Are you needing it or are you being it? And the moment you stop needing it, something remarkable happens within you. There is a quiet release, a soft surrender. Not a giving up in despair, but a letting go that feels like relief. It is the realization that you are no longer dependent on the outer world to complete you. You are already complete within the assumption you have accepted. You see, desperation always carries the vibration of absence. It says, I do not have it yet, and I must get it. And that very feeling pushes the experience away, not because something is resisting you, but because you are not aligned with possession. You are aligned with pursuit. But certainty is entirely different. Certainty does not ask, it does not chase. It does not question. Certainty simply is. It stands firm in the inner, knowing that what has been assumed is already established. And from that inner stillness, there is no movement of anxiety, no disturbance of thought, no urgency in time. So I say to you now, withdraw your attention from needing. Let it fall away from you as something no longer required. You are not trying to convince anything into existence. You are not trying to force the unseen to appear. You are resting in the fact that within you, it is already accomplished. And when you truly enter this, you will notice a change in your entire being. The mind stops grasping. The heart stops chasing. The body becomes still in a way that is not empty, but full of quiet confidence, full of inner assurance, full of a knowing that does not require evidence. This is what it means to be still in your knowing. Stillness here is not inactivity. It is inner certainty that no longer wavers with appearances. It is the state in which you are no longer moved by what is not yet seen, because you are anchored in what is already accepted within. And in that stillness, there is power. Not the kind of power that pushes or pulls, but the kind that simply holds its ground. It says nothing outwardly, yet everything inwardly is settled. And from that settlement, life begins to respond in ways you do not need to predict or control. So do not return to need. Do not return to longing. Those are only shadows of an older identity that you have already stepped beyond. Stay instead in the calm awareness that there is nothing to chase, nothing to earn, nothing to force. For in this state, you are no longer the seeker. You are the one who already possesses. And in that stillness, once you are no longer reaching, no longer needing, no longer pulled by urgency, you begin to understand the true creative act that takes place within you. It is not struggle. It is not effort. It is not force. It is the simple, quiet act of seeing. So now, I ask you to gently turn inward, not to search, not to strain, but to imagine. Create within yourself a short, clear mental scene, not something complicated, not something long and drawn out, something simple, natural, and complete. See it clearly. You are going about your day, and suddenly your phone lights up. There is no anticipation, no anxiety in this moment, just the natural unfolding of an event. You glance at the screen, and there it is, their name appears. That is all. Nothing more is needed. And in that instant, something soft happens within you. You smile. That smile is important. It is not forced. It is not rehearsed. It rises naturally as though it belongs there. Because in that moment, you are not imagining something distant, you are experiencing something familiar. Something already known. And I tell you, this is the secret of the inner world. You do not create by pushing thoughts into the mind. You create by entering scenes that feel real enough to be remembered. So this scene is not a hope. It is not a wish. It is a memory in motion, something you have already lived inwardly. Now, do not rush through it. Do not try to make it bigger or more dramatic. Keep it small. Keep it intimate. The power is not in complexity, it is in clarity. One simple moment is enough. The phone lighting up, the name appearing, the quiet smile that flows. And now you must gently repeat it. Not as a chant, not as a forced visualization, but as one would revisit a memory that brings warmth. You do not question a memory. You do not argue with it. You simply see it again, softly, naturally, without resistance. Each time you return to it, it becomes more familiar, more settled, more real within you. And as it becomes more real within you, you will notice something subtle beginning to happen in your entire state of being. The scene no longer feels like imagination. It begins to feel like something that belongs to you. And that is when you are doing it correctly. For the moment, you begin to feel as though it is already part of your experience. You are no longer creating from absence, you are remembering from fulfillment. And in that remembrance, there is ease. There is no tension in the body, no conflict in the mind, no uncertainty in the heart. You are simply there. And while you are there, in that brief inner moment, nothing else is required. You do not need to extend it. You do not need to analyze it. You do not need to wonder how or when it will manifest outwardly. Your only role is to dwell within the scene long enough for it to leave an imprint upon you. And then you gently step away from it, not with loss, but with satisfaction, as though you have just visited something that already belongs to you. And in doing so, you carry that feeling forward, not as something imagined, but as something known. And now, having touched that inner scene, having felt it gently and naturally, as though it were already part of your experience, you must understand something that separates fleeting imagination from true inner creation. It is not enough to see it once and then abandon it. It is not enough to feel it briefly and then return to doubt. The law responds not to momentary impressions, but to what you persist in accepting as true. So I say to you, persist. Even if the outer world appears unchanged, even if nothing seems to shift in the immediate moment, even if silence meets you where you expected movement, do not waver, do not interpret delay as denial. Do not let appearances become louder than your assumption. For what you have done inwardly is not a wish. It is not a request sent into uncertainty. It is a decision made in consciousness. And consciousness, when firmly held, must externalize itself. It has no alternative but to express what is continuously accepted within. So if you have assumed the feeling of the message already received, then you must remain faithful to that assumption. Not for a moment, not for a day of excitement followed by doubt, but continuously, gently, steadily, as one who knows without needing constant proof. And I tell you, the moment you begin to question, you step out of the state. The moment you return to wondering, why hasn't it happened yet? You are no longer persisting in the assumption. You are now entertaining its opposite. And the opposite assumption always delays the expression. So your strength is not in forcing reality. Your strength is in remaining unmoved by appearances. You must learn to be like one who has already placed an order and does not keep checking if it has been received. There is an inner calm in that person. A quiet confidence. They do not call the process again and again. They do not doubt whether it was heard. They rest in the knowing that it is already in motion. That is the state you must occupy. And if doubt arises, and it will arise, for the old self resists dissolution, do not fight it. Do not argue with it. Simply return to your assumption. Return to the feeling of the scene. Return to the quiet smile that comes when the name appears. Return again and again, as many times as necessary, not out of desperation, but out of discipline of consciousness. For persistence is not struggle. It is gentle refusal to abandon what you have accepted as true. And I say to you, what you persist in within your inner world becomes the only version of you that can unfold outwardly. There are no exceptions to this. The world does not respond to your occasional thoughts. It responds to your dominant state. So remain in it, even when nothing seems to move, even when silence surrounds you, even when logic tries to convince you otherwise. You stay, not stubbornly, not tensely, but calmly anchored in what you have already decided to be true. And in that quiet persistence, something begins to shift beneath the surface, beyond your perception. For unseen movement always follows sustained assumption, not because you forced it, but because you held it steady long enough for it to take form. So do not release it. Do not abandon it. Do not treat it as something fragile that requires proof to survive. It is already alive within you, and your only task is to remain faithful to it. And as you remain faithful to it, something very subtle begins to happen within you. The tightness starts to loosen. The inner grip you once held on the when and the how begins to dissolve. Because you start to realize that your task was never to figure out the timing, never to calculate the means, never to anticipate the path it would take. Those things were never yours to control. So now you are invited into something deeper. Release. Release the need to know when it will appear. Release the need to understand how it will unfold. Release the mental burden of trying to map out the invisible process. For every time you attempt to control the how, you step out of the state of fulfillment and back into limitation. And that is not where creation happens. You must understand this clearly. Your only real responsibility is not to make it happen, but to remain faithful to the feeling of it already having happened. That feeling is your anchor. That feeling is your bridge. That feeling is your creative point of contact with what is unseen. So if you have seen the scene, if you have felt the message received, if you have entered the state of fulfillment, even for a moment, then you have already done the only thing required of you. Everything else is unfolding beneath the surface, beyond your interference. Now let go, not in the sense of giving up, not in the sense of abandoning desire, but in the sense of stepping out of interference, step out of mental struggle, step out of constant checking, step out of the inner dialogue that asks, is it working yet? Because that question itself reveals doubt, and doubt interrupts alignment. Instead, return to stillness. Let your trust become quiet, not emotional, not dramatic, but steady. A silent inner knowing that what is established within must express itself without. This is not hope. This is not wishful thinking. This is inner law. What you have accepted deeply in consciousness does not remain hidden. It cannot remain confined. It moves outward naturally, inevitably, without force. And so your role becomes beautifully simple. You no longer chase. You no longer push. You no longer negotiate with time. You remain in the feeling. You return to it whenever attention drifts. You rest in it as your natural state. And when the mind tries to bring back uncertainty, you do not wrestle with it. You simply turn away from it, gently, calmly, as one would turn away from noise to return to silence. Because you understand now that creation is not happening in the outer world. It is happening within you. And what is done within, what is truly accepted, felt, and lived inwardly must, by its very nature, reflect itself outwardly. There is nothing you need to add to it. There is nothing you need to accelerate. There is nothing you need to manipulate. The inner work is complete the moment you truly enter the feeling. So remain there. And from that place of inner completion, let everything else be free. Let it unfold in its own perfect timing. Let it arrive without resistance. Let it express itself without your interference. For you have already done the work that matters most. You are not trying to make something happen. You are remembering that it already has. Dare to believe it. Stay in that state and watch how everything begins to shift.